A day to remember. Today, with our sisters and brothers in New Zealand, we take time to remember the ANZACs who lost their lives at Gallipoli 105 years ago, and all those who have died and served in the armed forces before and since those fateful days. In Vietnam, Korea, Kuwait, Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, and the list goes on. Today, for the first time in more than a century, there have been no large gatherings either side of the Tasman, but countless thousands of us are still marking Anzac Day in whatever way we can, remembering the young men and women who have given their lives in battle. One of the St. Peterites we remember at this time of year is a young private, Noel Edward Bechervaise, who died with so many others at the landing on Gallipoli about midday, about this time, on Sunday the 25th of April 1915. At the tender age of 21, he joined the 6th Battalion, F Company, and on the 19th of October 1914, he and his company embarked from Melbourne on board the requisitioned New Zealand Shipping Company vessel HMAT Hororata. Born in Geelong and educated at Geelong Grammar, Noel was studying at university in Melbourne when he enlisted. His record notes several generations of service in the armed forces. His great-grandfather commanded a private ship of war during the Napoleonic Wars. His grandfather served in the Crimean War, and his father served in the Ashanti War, 1873-4, with the naval force on the West African coast. The Army record also notes his occupation, and I think you'll enjoy this, as theology student. He was clearly a keen churchgoer, and there's a small memorial plaque on the wall of St. Peter's Church which reads very simply but beautifully, "Near this spot worshipped Noel Edward Bechervaise." No doubt prior to enlistment, his fledgling call to the priesthood was being carefully nurtured by then Vicar of St. Peter's, Father Maynard. Private Bechervaise was just one of an Allied force of 500,000 men, and I think we know the story, and it is because of all of them that we are remembering this day and marking this day. They were deployed in what the generals expected to be a relatively straightforward 3-day job. The campaign ended up taking 8 months and resulted in the deaths of 8,709 Australians and 2,721 New Zealanders. The death toll at Gallipoli on both sides of the conflict was more than 113,000 men, with an estimated 350,000 casualties in total. Utter devastation. As St. Peterites since 1924, we've made our acts of remembrance each year here on St. Peter's Place by the Wayside Cross. Just last year, the day before Remembrance Day in November, a large crowd of parishioners and invited guests gathered here, with the Lord Mayor, the Ambassador of France in Australia, and former Governor-General of Australia, Bishop Peter Hollingworth. Dr. Hollingworth drew our proceedings to a close with a prayer, and I'd like to share once again that prayer with you today. Let us pray. Visit, O blessed Lord, this place with the gladness of your presence. Bless all who gather, rest and work here. Bless the coffee caravan, the management, the staff, the volunteers and all who come here each day of the week for refreshment, rest and friendship. Grant peace to those who will come before the wayside cross, those who will come to remember those who have sacrificed their lives in war, those who will come to say a prayer for the sick and suffering, to lay their own burdens before the cross of Christ. O gracious God, who in your mercy ordained that your Son should suffer death on a cross of shame, we thank you that it has become for us a sign of victory over death. Invictus Pax, the banner of our salvation. We draw strength from this wayside cross. May it draw our hearts and the hearts of all who pass this way ever more deeply into the compassionate and merciful heart of Christ, who lives and reigns with you in the Holy Spirit, one God, now and forever. Amen. We will remember them, lest we forget.